Did you know that you can find wild beavers in some North American desert areas? This piece of information has made me want to add beavers to the drylands, so that is exactly what we are doing today. I will explain a bit more about the desert beavers in a moment, but first I'll say a bit about the making of this build. This habitat was a bit of an unplanned addition to the North American area, so I had to find a place to make it fit in. I was able to free a bit of space behind the pronghorns in an area between a restaurant and the entrance. So it's like in a corner of the North American area. I had to play around a lot with the terrain, the barriers and water to make this work as I wanted. Some of this I decided to leave out of the video. The front of this beaver habitat consists of a big artificial beaver dam. Right now you can see me work on the first version of it, but this ended up being too tall. Therefore I did some changes to it while I wasn't recording. But that was mostly just about moving and deleting some pieces. I also decided to remove the lower part of water and go with some foliage instead. The dam is not actually inside the beaver's habitat, since they would most likely destroy it over time, but it will look like a part of it from some angles. Instead the dam worked more as a barrier between the beavers and the pronghorns below. And as promised, I'll tell you a bit about beavers living in the North American desert areas, so you will understand better why I ended up with them in this zoo. Beavers tend to have a positive impact on the ecosystems and landscapes they are part of, since their dams will change the water level, the water quality, the stream flow and so on, which can make a river a more suitable habitat for many species of plants and animals. In deserts where water is rare to come by, it is very important that rivers and streams are the best they can be. Therefore beavers are also being translocated or reintroduced into some desert river systems, which they have disappeared from for various reasons. I'll put a link in the description to an article about beavers in Utah's desert rivers, which I have been using for some inspiration. You can take a look at this if you are curious about this topic, instead of me going too much into details with it here. Normally beavers are more associated with wetlands and forest areas, so I thought it would be fun to take a different approach to them than what you usually see people do in Planet Zoo. And it also made good sense for this park. I was looking to add a few more species to my North American area anyway. This habitat is also working as a nice background to the pronghorns and to this side of the park in general. Behind the beaver habitat there'll be a wall as part of the front of the park. This wall I'll decorate at some point, but not today. I've also been redesigning the pronghorns enclosure a bit while working on this. Some of this you might be able to see at the cinematic views at the end of the video. So just like beavers can transform a landscape out in the wild, they also help transform the landscape in this part of the zoo. I did enjoy building for the beavers quite a lot, even though water areas can be tricky. This is the first time I've used these guys since they got added to the game. They were among my favorites in the North American Animal Pack. I just haven't found a reason to use them before realizing they could fit into the desert theme. I was looking a bit at the Arizona Desert Museum's website, since this place is also a zoo. I was mostly there to look up if skunks were a good pick for this park, and then I stumbled upon beavers there and I had to investigate all that. The amount of wildlife you can find in the North American desert areas often surprise me. I really feel like I have learned a lot while working on this park. Lately most of my videos from the drylands has been Africa related, so maybe I should just talk you through the North American area as it is at the moment. At the entrance you'll find the prairie dogs, which you might already have seen. Then we got an area for bison and the pronghorns here in front of the beavers. Otherwise we got jaguars to educate about the small population of them living in the Sonoran Desert, and we also got cougars. But we'll be looking at all this at some point. We also got the Axolotl Conservation Center, which you also might have seen me build here on the channel. Most of the exhibit species suitable for this theme is also in the park, but I want to do something new with them soon. All in all, this whole area will undergo some changes, just like it is the case with the Kalahari and Namib Deserts area. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on all this. When this video is out, the Twilight Pack is only a few days away, and if you first stumble upon this video later on, then you might already have the new DLC. To me this pack is not super interesting. We've seen carnivores take up half the habitat animal spots too many times by now, so having 3 out of 4 animals being carnivorans is quite disappointing, to be honest. At least the wombat is a very good addition to the game, and I'm also very curious to see how the new exhibit will work out. The scenery pieces are a bit of a mixed bag. All the Halloween stuff is not really in my taste, but it looks like there'll be some good stuff among the foliage, building set and so on. And even though I'm not super excited for most of the animals in this pack, I still got plans for some of them. I think I'm going to find a place for the skunks somewhere in this part of the zoo. The Egyptian fruit bats should be fairly easy to make room for, a bit depending on how exactly the new exhibit works. I already got a cave between the two African areas, so I think I'll modify it to make them fit inside it. That seems like a pretty perfect match. Now I'm really just looking forward to checking all the stuff out. You're very welcome to let me know in the comments what you think of the new DLC and update. It is always nice to hear some different point of views. Sadly, those new map backgrounds will only be usable when you start a new zoo, and I really wish I could get rid of those huge cliffs in the background of this map. They really look way too extreme. This beaver habitat ended up a bit bigger than I planned, since this area didn't seem that big while it was empty. In the end, I don't really mind it too much, and it made it easier to get the enrichment item to fit in. This enrichment item piece is maybe not really the most realistic, but I find it too entertaining to not include it. I thought I made the water deep enough for the beavers to dive in it, but it doesn't seem like they're able to do so. I might have to play around with that someday. It would be nice to be able to see them underwater as well. I've made a concrete edge to the water area. This way it looks more man-made. Afterwards I did decorate this with some decal pieces. And otherwise the pool is decorated mostly with stones. I later changed the secondary color of these to some kind of green. This way it looks like algae is growing on them. A quite simple way to decorate a small water area like this. I realized I forgot about making custom signs for both this beaver habitat as well as the meerkats I did recently. I guess you might end up seeing them in a tour video at some point, and otherwise I might show them off elsewhere. You might have seen I recently have put out a YouTube Shorts video. I mostly just wanted to test and see if I would find this useful for the channel. I got a bit mixed feelings about this concept, but I think I want to do it from time to time in periods where I'm not that fast at getting my usual videos out. I could recreate some of my older small tips and tricks videos into shorts instead. That would seem somewhat fitting. But don't worry, long form videos will still be my go-to. I hope you have enjoyed this video today, and that it might have made you feel a bit inspired to consider a different take on fitting biomes for the species in game. I would say you shouldn't always trust Frontier's research on these things, at least not if you play Sandbox. Then you are more likely to discover some new takes on habitat designs. That is just a bit of advice from me today. A like on this video would make me very happy, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to make me keep making videos. A bit of extra details has been added off camera, and the speed build will end here. So let us jump to the cinematic shots and look at it all.